Hi, my name is Jake Bernards, and I'll be presenting an article titled FlexPlot Graphically Based Data Analysis by Dustin Fife, and going through some examples of the R package that is associated with the article. This presentation will include a background and motivation of why the paper was written and the package was developed, the solution and some examples to the issues that will be discussed during the motivation portion, and then the importance and impact of the package and paper moving forward. As mentioned earlier in the class, the visual system can process large amounts of data better than any other sensory system that we have. The paper goes on to mention that visualizations are largely underutilized within the scientific literature. The author suggests two of the primary reasons this is the case is the difficulty of development, as well as the lack of understanding and usefulness of visualizations. Which brings us to the motivation of why the author both wrote the FlexPlot package as well as wrote the current research article. Largely due to the replication crisis that is being observed in multiple fields of the scientific literature. To curb the replication crisis, the package aims to increase transparency of the data, where the reader can view the data in its entirety, can determine the appropriate model was selected, view the size of the effect, as well as the degree of uncertainty within the model. Also, it will help improve communication, as visualizations can help explain sophisticated statistical procedures as opposed to viewing the results within a ANOVA table, for example. Third, can highlight the model accuracy, as easy to see common statistical issues with nonlinearity, outliers, etc. can be viewed directly through the visualization as opposed to being lost within a summary table. And then lastly, helps improve encoding, as you can see in the figure on the right of the page. So with that said, FlexPlot was the author's solution to his motivation. It's developed and designed to remove common obstacles and to provide powerful visualizations with little to no coding on the visualization aspect needed. A lot of the structure of the code follows similar semantics as does the model. Therefore, it allows the author or the researcher to leverage the visualizations of the R ecosystem with little learning needed beyond what they're already doing to create their models. It's built on top of ggplot2, which allows for layering of the visualizations, and it follows the various empirically derived heuristics, which maximize the perceptual understanding to the reader, minimize perceptual bias. Very simple to generate, and you can quickly shift between that statistical model and graphical interpretation of the model itself. Now that we know the motivation behind why the FlexPlot package was developed, now let's move on to some of the basic grammar of the actual package. The visualizations will follow the same grammar as the general model with that formula type of coding. This helps to simplify the decision process of choosing the best graphic, as there is a synergy between the statistical procedures and the visualization procedures. Further, the researcher no longer has to decide the best graphic to display the model or the result, as FlexPlot will at least guide you based on what predictors and what variables you input into the model. Lastly, it provides added consistency between, again, the modeling procedures and the visualization procedures, allowing the researcher to spend more time inferring on the results. Going into some examples, you have the univariate graphic, numeric variables that are inputted to the FlexPlot package will be a histogram, categorical will be a bar chart. However, you can still force either selection on the back end. When visualizing bivariate data, The FlexPlot package will actually choose a visualization dependent on the data type and structure of the predictor and categorical outcome. For example, if you have a numeric predictor and a numeric outcome, it will develop a scatter plot. A numeric predictor and a categorical outcome, logistic curve, numeric predictor, categorical predictor, numeric outcome, B-swarm plot, and if both are categorical, it will provide a association plot. Again, driving that, limiting the resources the researcher needs to develop the visualization, allowing to focus more on the interpretation of what is actually going on. When visualizing multivariate data, FlexPlot includes the following strategies to help maximize the effectiveness of such figures. First, you're able to visualize conditional relationships with added variable plots. Second, it plots a dimension as different colors, lines, shapes, and panels, allowing for the user to decide the best way to include multiple metrics onto a single figure. And then lastly, overlaying ghost lines. And we can go into a little bit more detail on the following slides. So the added variable plot can help show the relationship between a predictor and the residuals of an existing model. Again, this reduces the cognitive load since you only need to interpret 2 dimensions as opposed to throwing everything in at once. And the FlexPlot adds the mean back into the plot for ease of use of interpretation, as all the data will be on the original scale. FlexPlot handles multiple dimensions onto a single figure by encoding different metrics as colors, lines, shapes, and/or paneling. Previous research has said humans can conceptualize up to 4 unique elements. Therefore, FlexPlot allows this information to be encoded as colors, lines, shapes, and paneling. Again, paneling can also be used as it is easy to conceptualize categorical variables, or you can pin numeric variables into various paneling setup. Lastly, ghost lines are a function of the visualizations, which allow you to repeat one relationship from panel to panel. This makes comparison of different models much easier, as you no longer have to pan from panel to panel, and that line is carried over for ease of interpretation. Beyond the visualizations that we've already talked about within this lecture, the paper and package also detail various other functions that help the researcher develop the model and pair the model with the visualizations. We don't want to get all the way from formal statistics, as that can help, the numbers can help with decision making and avoid confirmation bias that can occur just by looking at a figure alone. One function is visualize, which helps the graphics be matched to the actual analysis and provide various diagnostic plots when used. You can also compare different models fits, helping you to drive your decision of what model most accurately describes the data. And this, not only can you visualize the data, you can also get the formal statistics of each model. Lastly, the importance and impact of this research article and the FlexPlot package includes the visualizations allow the user to interpret the actual data and no longer rely on the researcher's interpretation of the data with presenting only summary statistics. Much more data can be ingested through the visualizations with less bias as opposed to table format. Interpretation can be accomplished by the layperson, as you no longer need to read the model outcomes in table format and can view relationships in a visual format. FlexPlot allows for easy formula-dependent way of visualizing models, which overcome the common hurdles of entry and effort of actually developing the figures and visualizations as well, and all of this in the hope to help curb the replication crisis of research moving forward. And that concludes the presentation. Thank you.